Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I thought I'd make a quick video on my thoughts about power creep and as well as if it's worth it still to reinvest into some of your V3 teams as compared to investing into the new V4 teams. So without much more yap, let's just get straight into it. So when it comes to power creep, it's always an interesting discussion, and the thing is, I do feel like a lot of people underestimate just how easy it is for Hoyo to create power creep. And this goes through a cycle of itself every single version, where the strongest DPSs of a version, people get them, they play them, they think they're super broken, and they don't know how it is that they power creep them, or they say they simply can't believe it. For example, in version 1, the main DPSs that people talked about like this back then were Dill and Jingliu, right? In version 2, it was Acheron, Fei Xiao, and Firefly. In version 3, it was Phanon, Cassie, and probably Evernight, right? To be honest, also Herda. Herda had this glaze when she first came out as well, because she was like 1 cost, 0 cycling everything, because she could just use small Herda, and it worked pretty well. She could also use RMC, but that was back when the HP was significantly lower. Now, Herda is actually among the lower end of Amphorius DPSs, right? So with that being said, you can see like a clear pattern of people just kind of consistently and again thinking it's impossible to power creep a team, but it happens every single time. And I do think this pattern will obviously continue itself in version 4. Now, a lot of people have been asking my opinion on this for a few patches at this point. However, as always, I prefer to wait until I can get a feel for the new version, what it is they're trying to maybe build up to, how strong the first characters are. That's when you can really tell how strong some of these DPSs may be, and if it's still worth reinvesting into some of your older DPSs. And after getting a feel, in my opinion, for what I think it is Hoyo is targeting in version 4 with their main DPS teams, I will say there's definitely going to be significant power creep, right? I am betting that when Silverwolf drops and that Silverwolf, Sparksy, Yao Guang, Nova, Flare, Huohuo team, we finally get showcases of it, it is going to shit on Monorem. Hot take. It is going to shit on Monorem, and this is without what is likely going to be released much later on, their Elation Sustain. I truthfully think this. The synergy Yao Guang has and what she does for Elation DPS specifically is simply way too fucking disgusting. I'd argue it is more important than like Cyrene for a majority of these air teams. Then you have Sparksy. We now know Silverwolf is a punchline, well, not a punchline generator. She wants a punchline generator to contribute towards her ultimate stacking. And Sparksy is perfectly synergistic with this, and Yao Guang is perfectly synergistic with Sparksy. On top of this, Sparksy's early Eidolons are perfectly tailored towards synergizing with a Silverwolf and increasing her ult gen. It's just too perfect, right? Very, very similar to Monorem, but in all likelihood, the numbers that this team is going to be able to put out is going to be much higher than Monorem. So with this being the case, I am, as sad as it is to say it, I am saying I don't think you should reinvest into your older DPSs at all. The only exception to this is if you already own their full dedicated team, and it's specifically 2 DPSs, Evernight and Phanon. Right, put 2 cost into getting their E2 and then call it a day. I wouldn't go further than that. Even that is questionable whether or not it's worth it as compared to just picking up some of these new strongest V4 teams, right? And those are some of the best E2 investments in the entirety of version 3. However, this is simply the reality of things. Version 4, vertical investment will probably be stronger. DPSs will definitely be stronger. I mean, Asheville as a sub DPS without many synergistic supports for his kit at all, just using random free-to-play generalists that are currently in the game, is already competitive at clearing endgame content to some of the Chrysosera DPSs in their full best in slot teams. So with this being the case, if you aren't already aware of what it is I'm trying to drive home, it is that V3 teams, despite how much vertical investment you put into them, it'll probably never be worth it at some point compared to if you invested into just new, fresh version 4 teams, because they're just going to be that much stronger. And this shouldn't be surprising, right? Once again, I understand we go through a cycle of this every single version where people are like, oh, there's no way this super strong team is going to get power crept that much. But it literally always happens without fail because Hoyo always makes sure it does. Now, of course, you don't need to follow everything I'm saying in this video. This is a mainly meta channel who tries to give the best meta opinions for getting the most value out of your pools. If you don't care about that, you'll still be able to clear with mid to high investment version 3 DPS teams against probably all or almost all endgame content for a very, very solid amount of time. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying comparatively to investing into new teams, maybe Elation teams, maybe Himiko SP, maybe some follow-up team later down the line when Ashvale finally gets his main DPS, those 3 teams are definitely going to be a lot stronger than any of the V3 teams, despite what a lot of people may be currently thinking. A lot of people are like, oh, Monorem is impossible to power creep. However, Monorem isn't even technically the strongest team until you start getting into basically whale levels of investment, right? And it's because of how synergistic some of the Eidolons and Lycones are between all the characters. Once you get all that out of the way, Monorem finally starts being the strongest team aside from Evernight main DPS, who for the average player is the strongest main DPS in the game currently. Right. So with this being said, I think Eidolons will probably just be stronger with the Shield V4 teams. Base Kit's going to be stronger. Everything is going to be stronger. You know what I'm saying? So do what you want to do at the end of the day. It's a game. You should always prioritize fun. But meta-wise, I would definitely not reinvest into older DPS's teams. And I would just invest into new teams. 100%. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And peace out. So I just realized I'm only 30 seconds off of hitting the 8-minute mark, so I'll add a little bit more info here when it comes to my new account that's trying to clear endgame as quick as possible. I have finally hit TL60. I have gotten my Sparksy level 80 and her Lycone 80, and I've almost gotten her traces maxed. I'm currently in the midst of trying to max Sparkle's traces as well as Yao Guang's, and then Dan Heng PT's and probably Gallagher's, because those are going to be my 2 sustains. I need them to live. If they don't live, I simply die. And of course, the DPS, I always need to prioritize their traces as well, and this includes Ashvale, who I will pre-farm for over the next 2 weeks until his banner finally comes. Best case scenario, the second Ashvale drops, I pull him. I already have everything built for him, including some probably mid relics because I don't have enough time to really farm that much. However, enough for clearing endgame, and then I'm able to finish this all in about a month's time period. However, depending on how unlucky I am when it comes to farming relics, then it could be a different story, and it could take me more closer to about a patch worth for me to clear the endgame content, which I'd still be happy with as that was my original goal anyways. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out.